today's growth story, we're chatting with Nicky Larkin, who heads up Goringe Accountants. After Nicky started the firm in 2007, she's now poised to break the £1 million turnover mark in the next 3 to 9 months. Whoa. Fingers crossed. I think we've been saying that for 3 years, but this is the year, isn't it?
It's on the cusp. It's on the cusp.
Yeah. And Goringe Accounting.
Accounts.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know. When you're with Nicky, you'll realise that she's irrepressible, positive, and occasionally talks over you. But that's called life. They're a small practice with over 20 employees based in Berkshire, with satellite offices in Bristol, London, and also their head office in Berkshire. So, hello, Nicky. Great to have you with us. Do you want to give us a quick potted history of your firm, such as what prompted you to start it? What is your current turnover?
Sure, and I think that was a record be told off within 1 minute from Heather. But yes, so welcome everyone. I hope you get something from this, of my story. So yeah, as Heather said, I started my practice back in 2000, and this is the only practice I've ever worked in, because I previously worked in industry, but mostly blue chips, but also a couple very well funded startups. So my background is more as being the client to accountancy practices. And why did I start? So, well, I had quite a lot of people say, well, why don't you start your own practice? I don't know why they thought I would want to do that. I thought it was all very bizarre they kept saying that. But so many people kept saying it. I thought, well, how to have a look. I took a week off work, went to every single networking thing I possibly could in Reading, because I'd just moved recently to Reading, and talked to lots of small business owners, and found I couldn't believe it. You know, there's hundreds of practices in Reading. Couldn't believe it that so many were moaning about their accountants. So I realised that yes, the market might be flooded, but they weren't flooded with accountants that people wanted to actually use. So I saw there was an opportunity. I'd always wanted to run my own business, but not an accounts practice. But anyway, so I started up from home on my dining room table. Sorry, who was it that wrote the first thing? Ashley. Yeah, so Ashley, my original ambition was I was not going to employ anybody. I was only so this is how my business plan has completely failed. I wasn't going to employ anybody. I was only going to have 75 clients and just run it all from home, so that it would be all lovely. I could earn a nice amount of money, but still be at home and eventually build up a family and have a family as well. But that all changed within a year. Decided that, no, that'd be too, for me, I'm sure it's lovely for you, but for me, I decided, no, that'd be too boring. I had 100 clients and I needed people. So I kept on hiring, growing, and went on, and I've it's all been organic growth so far.
So what decisions did you make that truly accelerated your growth?
Okay, so I think one thing is definitely the decisions to get offices. So, and there's two key decisions there. The first, to move from working from home completely. So I've been a right big cycle. First 3 years, I did everything from home. I'd keep going to the local hotels to meet up with people, which now I think actually that sounds a bit dodgy now. But anyway, that's what I used to do. Frequent the Crown Plaza a lot, to their lobby, meeting different people. But yeah, so I had my son 3 years into the practice, so I couldn't run the practice from home anymore because it wouldn't be very professional having a baby there. So I took the step to rent my first office. So that was the thing, because then having the office, I'd already had some remote workers. That was remote workers before it's fashionable to have remote workers, but then that gave me the opportunity really to start hiring some some more senior people in our office. And then the next thing was actually all to do is then when I committed to actually get a lease, and we went to much bigger premises, and you know, we turned up there with 8 people, and it was a bit rattling around, and so I had to fill it.
Most people don't go, oh, I've kind of got 3-4 times as much space as I need, let's fill it. Most people don't, most accountants I know don't kind of go, oh, let's kind of get 4 times. Just put your hand up when you were thinking about your first office. Did you think, oh, let's get the biggest one I can do and then grow to fill it? Or did you think, what's the smallest I can get away with? Just put your hand up if you thought, oh, I'm going to go for the biggest. I'm not noticing any hands go up, Nicky.
Oh, well, I am special. So so that's one thing. It was the office moves is one of the things helping the acceleration. To get some more safety net and consistency was introducing standing orders and sort of regular retainers or regular invoices to clients. And so we did standing orders to begin with, then moving into direct debits. And that was great because direct debits are fabulous compared to standing orders because you don't have to keep reminding people every year to change them. So that was good to know that you got that set amount of money coming in each month. And yeah, Heather did nag me for a bit to make sure to move it to the direct debits.
Only a bit, but you said no to start with. 5 years later,
oh God, I was like, oh, do I have to? Like, it was hard enough getting them on standing order. But anyway, I'm glad I did it, and I wish I'd done it slightly earlier. But anyway, I did do it. I always eventually listen to Heather. You should take top tip, listen to her straight away. You'll do much better. Having targets. I mean, I am a very target-oriented person, so I've always had targets, whether it's the amount of clients or whether the amount of size of clients, and lots of other things. So targets. I very early on had selected where I was intending to have my 3 offices. So I think we set up the London side. London was an obvious thing because I'd lived and worked in London, so all my network was London based anyway. So we set up London quite early on, you know, sort of I think after about 5 years. And I knew that Bristol was always going to be the 3rd one, but that and I decided that early on, but that is only a recent thing that we've actually done that. I think the other thing is getting specialists. So we have specialist teams. So I'm able to employ a lot more specialists, and it's employed, but also we have on a consultant basis as well, some really good specialists. That's what's really helped us really confidently say we're a medium firm so that we can offer the full range of services. And then I suppose the other thing is we do have we're always focusing on improvements in lots of different ways. One of the things we use, a technique we use, is something called the red zone. So because a lot of our client base is done on fixed fees, which as many of you know is a bit of a killer in some ways unless you get it right. So to try and prevent the issues with that, we have something called the red zone to pick up wherever we're obviously putting far too many hours into fixed fees and trying to work out why they are. And we'd have some very detailed analysis of that to make sure that I don't feel that we're just throwing all the money away all the time.
And I think it's really key here. We always tell our clients to know their numbers, but actually the amount of our members, and you'll concur with this, the amount of our members that will send us their KPIs that are ruthlessly updated every week, I don't need many fingers on one hand. So if you're going to take one tip away from this, is get serious about managing your own practice. Know your own numbers. Be the FD to your own practice that you always promised you would be, and that you never quite actually got there with. And the other thing is this, this red zone, there's a really key point here, is that what it does is everyone in your practice knows about the red zone. You talk about it. It isn't something where you sit in an office. So all your team know about the red zone. They know happens when someone falls in the red zone. There's a KPI about getting people out of the red zone. It's not just this, oh, we need to sack some clients, or oh, we need to whatever. One of the next key thing is, if you spend any time with Nicky, she doesn't do stuff that takes more than 90 days because she wants to do everything in 90 days and then she resets. That kind of energy action woman. And it's, you know, take that hint, look at it in those 90-day stints. If you're going to put prices up, put prices up. Don't talk about it. I know when you came for your second coaching session ever, and I'm like, right, how are you doing with your to-do list? You went, I've done it. I've done the 90-day plan. What's next? I was like, okay, we've got one of those. You know, which I felt quite refreshing. So, but it's not all been, you know, plain sailing. You know, there was a number of years where you decided you weren't going to work with me, so I have no idea what happened in those years. But I know that actually there's been some tough times. How did you find the mental toughness to get through those tough times?
Yeah. So I'll go into detail actually about the toughest time, because it probably will resonate with some people and they might even be going through it as well themselves. And it's good to hear how I got through that. So I think the toughest time, I know the toughest time was, it was, well, 3.5 years ago. And so again, you know, we kept on growing, but we had so many clients, and like now, it's really tough to recruit. And I had a year where I had 2 people going on maternity leave, 2 other people leave for various reasons. My team was smaller than it is now, so that 4 people was a massive difference. And at the time, I think I had around 650 clients at that point. And I was working non-stop. I basically do my day job in the office. And then once everybody had left, bash out a set of accounts. That's how it was. So I was like, didn't want to be behind on things and didn't want people waiting. And I was just literally, I couldn't work any harder. And it was very difficult to recruit. So I was like, I did get to the phase that I just didn't know what to do for a bit. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm working really hard. The profit's not quite where I want it. This profit isn't where I want it to be anyway, but why isn't it when we're working so blimmin' hard? So I'm not one to hide it. I can talk to people about it. At the time, I was working with some more local consultants. So it wasn't necessarily a conscious decision not to use Heather. It was more that I was working also with some other people. So I was talking to them a bit more than Heather at the time. But I went out to lunch with a lovely accountant who runs her own little practice in Reading. And I was sort of talking to her and saying about issues. And, you know, almost like, you know, I should know what the answer should be. Anyway, end of that lunchtime, decided, right, no, let's see if I can ditch, sorry, it sounds so horrible, but ditch the hardworking clients that I don't want and don't make me any money. And so I basically, it was hard because I really care about all my clients, but I just couldn't look after everybody. I got rid of 130 clients. So I suppose, so that's what actually happened. How do I deal with it? And of course, I think I talk to the best people that I can and find solutions. So I'm a problem solver. And I try and surround myself with people that are positive and know what to do. And that's why I love working with Heather. She gives me such brilliant advice. So that's why I like working with her. Not one of these coaches that are just like, you're supposed to come up with the answer yourself. It's like, if I knew what the answer was, I'd blooming know it. No. Sorry to coaches out there. But... That's all right.
Ian and I very much, our brand is mentoring stroke coaching, whatever's needed in the moment. So there's,
and I just know that there's certain things that I know to make sure that I am happy. You know, you need to have your sleep. I have to have exercise. So believe it or not, I do huge amounts of exercise. I still end up sitting on my butt too much, so hence the size. But I do a lot of exercise. I try. I make changes. So I don't see the point in getting upset about the same thing. Whatever, if there's a problem, I make the change.
Brilliant. I think there's a couple of key points. The first thing is, when you're going through tough times, this is the time where you draw on the people that you've built around you. If you don't have those trusted people around you, that is a key thing to do. And Ian, that we are very much in our community in the club. We are that trusted circle for so many people. So the next thing is, and it's quite common with firms that get to that sort of 400, 500, 600, they realize, there's a whole lot of legacy clients that we got when I first started that are paying piddly fees that we're not making any money on. And you took the decision, particularly as you said, you were struggling with recruitment at the time. A lot of people had left. This is the point you and I started to work together again. And you, as you said, you sold this book of business, got some money for it, but actually in the process reshaped your practice to the type that you wanted to scale. And so many people kind of quickly grow something to 200, 300, 400. But it's not the practice that they want to scale. It's not the practice that gets that they lose their mojo, because it's a lot of the wrong type of clients. And very often you do need to do that recorrection. Yeah. So we've touched on some of the mistakes you've made. We talked standing order to direct debit. I do remember at one point I said, you need to look at this cloud-based software, and you told me, nah, it's not going anywhere. And now, it's all QuickBooks, a little bit of it zero for you, quite a lot of Sage stuff. So you do all of those. Having lots of little clients that are the wrong shape is a mistake many firm owners make. But also, with the benefit of hindsight, what other stuff would you have done differently?
Okay, so just to flesh that last point, and then the things that I would do differently, the many things I'd do differently. So I talk to my team regularly. So we've now got between 400 to 500 clients at the moment on go. I basically say to the team, I want to only have 500 clients, but I want 500 clients, £10,000 each average. That's how we're going to go from our 1 to our 5 million. So we're like, as people naturally leave for whatever reason, refill them with the bigger ones. So we still only work for 500. So that's my ultimate aim at the moment. But other things that I went wrong, I would say make sure you do your recruitment process more vigorously, because you can waste an awful lot of time on hiring the wrong people. Where I have got people that have been with me a long time, they are so valuable to me. I hope not too many of them are watching, because I'll be asking for another pay rise. But but I really do rely upon them. That is, they are just so, because it's like, if you're having to keep hiring and then retraining, you're losing that 3-6 months each time for that process. It's horrendous. So and also clients, they do get annoyed, keep changing account managers. So getting your hiring process right at an earlier stage is something I would have done well. I think also it's always difficult getting the mix of levels of people. I went through a stage that I was actually very top heavy with staff. We had lots of qualified people and like no trainees whatsoever. And that was, so getting the balance between your staff and therefore your future staff. So it is important. I wish we've got a really good training program now. It's really good. And I can really see my the future of my business and those trainees. So I wish I'd done more on that earlier as well. But, you know, again, that's always an investment. You know, would you take on the qualified who can just get on with it, or do you build up the next generation of accountants? So that's another one. I would say put on my fees earlier. That one of the worst mistakes, so I'd probably say the second worst mistake, or it could be the first mistake that actually led to some part of the problem with those 600, was during the last recession. I can't believe we've not actually had another recession yet, but actually, you know, in the recession 2008, the mistake that I went through is, so from the start of that 2008 to sort of 2011, a lot of clients, I didn't put their fees up. It was early days, so I was like, oh my God, I don't want to put their fees up. It's a recession. They might leave me. And then you're ended up, you know, several years later with fees of people that you had quoted when you were working at home without any overheads, without any staff. And that's just so I say always, unless there's an exceptional reason, always put your fees up every year, because if you're a good practice, you will be giving your staff salary increases every year. Your software keeps getting more expensive, everything else gets more expensive, so you put your fees up, you know. Do that every year, because that some of the clients I didn't put up for 4 years, you know, and if I had done, I'd have had a bit more money slosh around to get some other stuff out, and not, you know, and all other sort of issues. So that would probably be another thing. That, I think those are the top things to begin with.
And I want to pick up something really, really key here, and it is, and we've seen it in as well. If you cannot get a stable team beneath you, your growth will falter. It's absolutely key, and we've seen it time and time again. We've seen it in our own business as well. If you can't get the right people in. Now, the other thing is, they might be the right people initially, but if you don't develop them, if they don't carry on wanting to, you know, align with the purpose of your firm, they can become the wrong people. Now, that doesn't mean to say they're not very nice and you don't like them, and you wouldn't have dinner with them in a pub type stuff. It's about, are they the right person to do the right role, and can you develop that? And that's something that you've always been really hot on. I know some of your, you know, verging on senior team, when we first started to work together 8 years, were your trainees. And it's how can you build this movement through, and thinking of Sian in the club as well. You know, it's her investment in those trainees 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that are now her most relied upon really senior members of staff. Now, we've got 6 more minutes, so if you've got any question for Nicky, do you want to put it into the chat box? So what would you like to ask Nicky? As you can see, Nicky's very open. She doesn't mind sharing where she went wrong. So I know, Nicky, I do remember when we first started working together, you were still doing tax returns.
Yes.
Still doing sets of accounts.
Yes.
I now
top tip how to stop doing them.
Yes, that's what we want to know. How do you stop doing them? Yeah.
When you change your software, don't learn it.
Yeah.
That's how I stopped doing accounts production. So that's what I stopped first, is because I never really enjoyed doing statutory accounts anyway. That wasn't ever my bag, but I was good at it, and I could bash out some accounts pretty good because I just understood it. But so when we moved from Sage to CCH, I just thought, right, this is my opportunity. I'm just not going to learn CCH. So I can't do.
Yeah. And so key thing here is it, and interestingly, there's something here with Sian's journey as well in our club, who's just turned over $1 million. She never did a set of accounts because she, like you, came from industry. So there's a big thing here. If you're going to grow, how can you get away from the person that is churning out the tax returns, the year-end accounts? And the quicker you can go, that's not mine, the quicker you would accelerate. And we've seen that time and time again. In fact, there are members of the club that we finally got to the point where they're doing no tax returns this year, but there's a lot of guilt.
Yeah, but you start employing people that are better than you at it. So Emily, our head of statutory statutory accounts, she's a million times better at statutory accounts than I am. So I've got no regrets. I'm not doing that anymore.
Right, we've got loads of questions here. So we've got loads of questions. If Nicky's okay with it, we will stay on for another 5-10 minutes to get these questions answered. So quick one, what time recording software do you and the team use?
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks, that's an answer. So question from Nash here. How did you decide on your ideal clients?
The ones I liked and I found interesting. So for me, I like fast growing businesses. I particularly like engineering, technology and business services type businesses. They're usually the ones that will pay you properly and appreciate you, and you know, they're doing well. You know, I'm not saying we do have a few odd retail and hospitality, but it's so hard in that sector. I worked out a long time ago that was not the area that I wanted to focus on.
And I think it's really key here to let people know that your husband has a role in the business and he is your in-house web digital marketer, as in he sorts out the website. He's built so you get a third of your leads come from SEO, social media, come through that way, a third come from client referrals, and then another third come from your own network and the relationships you've built.
Yeah, so some of my success is down to my husband. You're right.
You know, behind every great female owner, there is often a husband needing to manage childcare and the laundry.
Yes, well, no, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I only have one son, but he's demanding enough. So yes, we decided we couldn't both have really high, because we're both workaholics. He was traveling around the world because he's a world expert in his field, but he believed in me and my business, so he became my CTO and became an SEO expert, and he took it as far as he got. We tried to use some external top agencies and realized that actually he still knew more than them, so we ditched them. So we are very lucky that we've got, seriously top level SEO work. Yeah.
And I think there's a key point here is just to answer your question, Christopher, the growth has been all organic. There's been no acquisitions. A key point here is to not rely on just one route to market. I see a lot of the newer accountancy firm owners at the moment being totally reliant on, say, a LinkedIn or only using referrals. If you're going to grow, it's having these 2, 3, potentially even 4 kind of key channels to market. So if one drops off, the others are still there.
Numbers game. I've always done it as I want a third from my SEO stroke advertising from the old days when it used to be in the Tilehurst directory or whatever, then networking and client referrals, because then I knew if one dropped off, I've still got the others coming in, and it gives me time to work out why is the one dropped off and build up against the just constant leads coming in.
So and that's something that actually people don't realize.
There's a lead I need to follow up after this.
Yes, and what people don't realize is that you turn around to me and go, I'm thinking, and you do it every 3 to 6 months, I'm thinking about my business plan for next year. And it's a continual every 3 to 6 months, and it always starts.
I've been capped by Heather. I'm not. Yeah. I've put it as 1.5. It started off as 1.25 for next year. Then I took it to 1.5. She said I'm not allowed to do more, to target for more than 1.5 next year.
But interestingly, you've got such confidence in your marketing. You turn around to me and say, well, 100k will just come in.
Oh yeah, 100, 150 I don't have to think about. Yeah.
And a key thing when you're growing is if you want to get, getting that confidence in the marketing is what's going to take you to 500,000. What's going to take you from 500,000 to 1 million is knowing that marketing can work without you, but getting that team and leadership. So there's a great question from Susie here. She's thinking of having a baby soon, but I'm worried how I'll run my practice. I don't feel like I can rely on staff currently. Does it mean it's time to get another partner in practice, or can you continue with the correct staff?
Is this her first baby?
I have no idea. Susie, can you let us know, is this your first birth baby?
I'll say both. So
it's the first. Yeah, it is the first.
Okay. Congratulations, Susie, for thinking about this and get on with it. So I would say don't delay. I made, so slightly skew if I'm not answering straight away your question, okay? I had my baby, Jake, fantastic, love him. I waited too long for going for second, so the second one's never happened. Don't put it off. TikTok, keep going. Work with Heather. There will be solutions to work out how to make sure your practice keeps going when you have your baby. Be very firm about how long you want off. I thought I was going to have 2 or 3, so I'd have a second or third maternity leave. So I didn't even have a maternity leave when I had Jakey, because I thought, it's just to start one of the first. But there's what you can do. If you want to have a partner, fantastic. I don't think I'd be the best person to work with a partner personally, but I do have a fabulous management team. But there's plenty of people that will come in and be an interim practice manager for a year, or bring in another senior for a year. Whatever else it is, you will be, especially you can plan it. Make sure that you can cover it, and just get on and do it, Susie.
And interestingly, one of our long-standing members joined the club in order to grow her practice to the point where she could feel that she could start a family, take at least 3 months off. And she has literally, her baby's due in early January, and she's more than doubled her practice to get to that point. She's over 500,000 now, and she's about to take off. Now, interestingly, when she fell pregnant, that was the real push to get the right staff in place. And I said to her very early on, I said, right, scrub out Fridays in your diary now. Scrub out, before 10 a.m. in your diary.
My water baby's day.
Yeah, scrub out whatever. So start to block out your diary now, so that actually it's not, and she was like, I mean, they're 90% of their tax returns are already done type stuff as a practice. Because
thanks for that.
Yeah, but if you were about to have another baby in 3 months' time and wanted to start maternity leave in 6 weeks, you'd be 90% of the way.
You'd be focused on it. Absolutely. And also don't think it's going to put your clients off, because believe me, I remember going into a brand new client meeting, 8 months pregnant, felt like an elephant, thought there's no way, why on earth are they going to hire a new accountant that's about to drop? And I won the client. So don't think it's going to slow you down. And also, touch wood, I didn't seem to get baby brain or whatever. I still believe that's a fallacy, so I just kept going.
Well, for the remaining mortals out there, I got baby brain. Some people say I've not actually. We found it, even though I've now got teenagers instead of kids. So, Nicky, how can people get in touch with you if they'd like to understand a bit more about your journey or pick your brains? Something that we haven't really touched upon. Nicky took the decision to bring an audit practice into her business very early on, because it matched with the fast growth, the technology, who were going to be getting those early stage investment. So absolutely, if you know that you have a client that is needing an audit, that is a reason to get in touch with Nicky. They will do that audit for you and support you with those, so you don't need to move the client on or find out one of those bigger firms that might snaffle it. So Nicky, can you put in the chat box to everyone your email address?
Yeah, sure. And is that the right chat box? Yeah, it is. So yes, please do contact me. So besides audit, I also have a brand new super duper tax director that started yesterday, who is a super duper expert at disclosures and tax investigations. So if you don't have that in-house, do come and see us about that either too. But I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, my email's in there. And I do a weekly business broadcast, which everyone's welcome to watch, half an hour every Friday at 12:30, where I have a different guest every week. to anything that's relevant business wise, we cover.
Do you do business valuations, Nicky?
Yeah.
Yes, Nicky does do business valuations. So Ashley, if you want to send a direct message to Nicky with your email address, she'll be in touch. Now, if this session has inspired you, how about coming to our Amplify Your Growth Week, which is where on the 19th to 22nd of October, we've got together with some of the club members, some with Clarity, HQ, Carbon and Practice Ignition, to put on 11 sessions across from the Tuesday to Friday, all kind of around with lunchtime. And Nicky is one of our panel guests talking about how do you go from 500,000 to 1 million, which is on the Thursday, just late lunchtime. So we have themed the week. So each day looks at one aspect: growth, growing your revenue, practice efficiency, overcoming growth pains, and building out your team. Now, we know that your time is precious right now. That's why we've spread the sessions across the week, and each session is a palatable 30 to 40 minutes in length. Now, of course, you can choose to go all in and listen to every session, or pick and choose the right session for you. Now, all of these sessions are free to register. I'm just going to put the link in the chat box. And if you've been listening and thinking, oh, I'd love to have that community around me that Nicky's been talking about, that person that will give me that mental stroke coaching when I need it. Ian, would you just like to put your link to your diary to book a 15-minute call and start? We'd love to speak to you. So thank you very much for your time, Nicky. Thank you everybody for coming. As you say, if you've got any more questions for Nicky, I've put her email into the box. We would love to speak to as many of you as possible. But thank you, Sarah, for coming. Thank you, Ashley. Will the recording be emailed? The recording will be I think we're putting it on YouTube and make it open as a podcast. But there's also on the Facebook page, it's actually been live streaming. Susie, I'm glad you're very inspired. And if you want to have a chat with Ian, he has been working with our member to free them up so they were ready and available to have their baby. So we're used to that kind of stuff. But yes.
This is service. Sorry.
Yes, it's all part of the service. Yeah, not quite. Right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll speak to you soon. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. I need to find the stop recording.